we're in a postmodern era where this generation really loves to flex who their identity is.
Yes. Even just the story of how Ethereum came about, because Vitalik's account on World of Warcraft was
that's right.
revoked, and then
Yeah.
he couldn't get it back. So he was like, okay, I'm gonna build a decentralized web.
If you want to go through the fintech way of introducing
Yes.
Ponzi-nomics
Yeah,
into your messenger, it can get a lot of users, but after a while, when the airdrop comes and the listing comes, everything will come crashing down because your initial base was wrong.
Hi, and welcome back to On The Block, a Web3 talk show where we talk about anything Web3, digital assets, and cryptocurrency related. My name is Marcus, I'm from Symphony Digital Assets, and as usual, I'll be your host for today. Over here, we have Paulo from Kaia Blockchain, a global layer 1 blockchain platform
That's
that was
right.
formed through the merger of Clayton and Finchip, which was initially developed as an infrastructure layer for Kakao and Line, the popular social messaging platforms in Korea and Japan. And I think there's some
Thailand, Taiwan.
Yes, Indonesia too. Yeah.
Indonesia.
Could you give a brief walkthrough on what you do at your firm and also what are some of the cool features Kaia's blockchain and its ecosystem has to offer?
Yeah, so I'm the community lead and also I do business development. So what that means is I speak to startups, founders to encourage them to build on our chain. And the community lead, I liaise with our Japanese agencies, our Chinese agencies, everything.
Multilingual.
I try.
Try your best.
We do AMAs, we do interviews. And it's fun. And as for our chain, like you said, it's an L1. But what we do differently is we really want everybody to access blockchain.
Yes.
Through the apps that they use.
Yeah.
So now we have Kakao Talk, and now we have Line as well. So that's we want to be framed as like the Asian, your gateway to Asia kind of thing.
Yes. I was reading the mission, like being the global Asia's infrastructure layer.
That's right.
The go-to.
And
onboarding both Web 2 and Web 3 users at the same time.
Correct.
Yeah. I think I can join Kaia now.
You can join Kaia. You take my place. Please don't.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
And today we're talking about Web 3, but delving a little bit more specifically into P2E and SocialFi, which we'll cover in our discussions later on. Before we begin our conversations proper, I actually have one question for you, Paulo.
Sir.
Which is, what is one hot take
Oh.
you have about communities in the Web3 space? Difficult.
Difficult question. Hot take. I think we're too comfortable with having botted communities.
Right.
Yeah.
Sensitive. Yeah.
I mean, not many projects will readily admit this. On one aspect is that we have these questing platforms.
Yes.
But these
Galaxy,
Quest 10, all these. The problem is they can be easily botted.
Yes.
So it's not necessarily that maybe projects like to bot. It's just that they happily or knowingly or unknowingly use platforms that allow for botted engagement.
Yes, and the captcha just only has some kind of effectiveness.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's some plausible deniability. That, no. We have a community.
Yes, yeah. And so let's plow through a little bit of the background. What exactly is Web3? And so Web referring to World Wide Web. So I believe we are around the same time. Yeah, so keying in www.yahoo.com.sg
Wow.
into every website as a URL for anything that we want to access. And so Web 1.0, we go back, rewind the clock a little bit. We're referring to the fetching and reading of data, which is purely just static images, floppy disks, thumb drives. I think back in those days, it's probably only 32 megabytes.
That's right.
Yeah, now we're like gigabytes is like easily available, terabytes or like petabytes. Yeah, the next level, I think so. Yeah, and so timeline wise, we're looking at 1991 to 2004, and then next up we have Web 2.0, which began sometime around 2004 with this guy, a renowned guy now, Mark Zuckerberg. Facebook in its former glory days. Yeah, I like those like not questing platforms, but like games, social messaging, interactions. And so Web 2.0 actually consisted of reading, writing, creating, and end user interactions. And then fast forward to today, we actually have Web 3.0, though a little bit still in progress, where we try to build a decentralized web. And so for every social media platform out there, there's actually a decentralized alternative. Not sure if you know about it. Like, so Twitter, we have Mastodon. And
I know these words.
Yes, I actually used them before, right?
Oh, okay.
Reddit, we have Ether. Facebook, we have a not very good name, Friendica. So it's like not very innovative.
Wow.
Yeah. So honestly, why I know and I use them is because in my free time, I'm a little bit of a privacy nerd.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So I just try to like research on how to prevent my data from leaking into big tech firms. Yeah.
You're hiding a lot of data then.
Maybe. And so Web 3.0, decentralized web, talking about reading, writing, creating, and
That's right.
all in all, I think what it's underlying is actually owning your own data.
Yeah.
Right. So that's paramount, very important value when it comes to Web 3.0. And so what has been on the rise, gaining in popularity in the Web3 space is P2E. So what we call play to earn. And I know Kaia's blockchain is a go-to for many blockchain-based games, given that it's built on mobile, integrated within a social messaging platform. Paulo, could you share maybe in broad strokes the narrative, or like how did it even came about P2E?
For P2E, it actually, I think it graduated to where it gradually moved to where we are now. Where initially, I think there's a lot of prevalence on paid games. Right?
Yeah.
So paid games, early 2000s.
Yep.
And then mid 2000s, there was a rise of Candy Crush and the free games.
Yeah.
The freemium. Yeah. Initially, they had a very little market share because nobody liked mobile gaming. It was disdained.
Yes.
Right? Like people look down on mobile gamers.
Yeah.
Until today, there's some pockets that think that as well, right?
But we have the ROG, Steam Deck, things like that now.
Yeah, but we've come so far.
Yeah.
Now we can think of mobile gamers as gamers. Now in Web3, that evolved now to free gaming plus earning some incentives.
Yes.
So I think how that came about is that there's a lot of problem now where when games shut down, there's the mementos that you have with the game, the hours that you spent, is all for naught.
Yes.
In Steam, for example, whatever you buy in Steam it's not actually yours.
Yeah.
It's rented out. It's licensed to you.
And
even though you pay $80 for it.
And I just go to my profile and see, I actually spent 50 hours on this game.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
But it's not actually yours.
Yeah.
You know, but in Web3, we're now in a place where anything you buy online, it can actually be yours. And the data, if you produce something in game, like an asset, like how Fortnite user generated content is so prevalent.
Yes.
Like we have a lot of these games that rely on creativity of users, like Roblox, Minecraft.
Yeah.
If these are tokenized and people can financially gain from it, then it's viable.
Yeah.
So that was I'm sure you've heard of like the initial games that happened, like XE and all that.
Yes.
That was the some proof. I mean, it went down badly,
Yeah,
but there was
yeah.
an initial proof,
Proof
that
of
people
concept.
do want
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
That there is some market for it.
And so we're talking about XE, and I think when we talk about the narrative, there's also something that is driving.
Yeah.
And so maybe you could share some of the factors that you observe maybe over the last 3 to 5 years, like COVID, things like that. Yeah.
Sorry,
Like COVID.
oh, COVID.
Yes.
I love COVID. So I think during COVID, people were really couldn't go out.
Yeah, cooped
And
up at home, right?
They
Yeah.
cooped up at home and they wanted to do something.
Yeah.
And then there was an opportunity with the rise of DeFi. Let's say 2000 was DeFi summer,
Mhm.
2020 rather.
Yeah.
Right? And then the rise of games.
Yeah.
So people wanted to augment their sources of income when the economy was down.
Yeah.
So I think this was a ripe opportunity for games with financial layers
Yes.
to actually thrive. And people jumped on it, and especially
Yeah.
people in emerging markets did it, like Philippines,
Yeah.
Venezuela, and
Yeah.
a bunch of other countries.
Yeah, I mean, so Axie Infinity, I think at its peak, there was about 2.8 million daily active users,
Crazy.
and a huge chunk of its playing community, 40%, I think, was actually from Philippines.
That's right.
Yes, and I just
My
backtracking
countrymen.
a little bit, just how you're saying spending $80 on Steam, I suppose you're referring to the none other than Black Myth Wukong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guilty of playing it myself, but like, even though Gen Z Alpha, we are often labeled as like short attention span, things like that. But just some of us are actually enjoy games, and the gaming in itself, the industry is ever growing. And so even though Web3 games form a small portion of it, of this industry, it is still, there's room for growth, right? Users to onboard into Web3 and actually own their data, like what you said, in-game items, in-game resources, in-game characters.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, a big part of it is because of we're in a postmodern era where this generation really loves to flex who their identity is.
Yes.
So that's why we have identity politics. Like we want to attach ourselves to brands as opposed to the previous generation.
Yeah.
So I think we're in an opportune time where people want to flex things, and if that can be done on chain, and there's some status factor added onto it, and it can't be botted, for example, because if it's immutable, it's on chain, then it's something that really people will prize.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, even just the story of how Ethereum came about, because Vitalik's account on World of Warcraft was revoked, and then he couldn't get it back. So he was like, okay, I'm going to build a decentralized web. And Ethereum came about. That was how it was birthed. Gamer was like fed up. He just wanted to own his items. Don't revoke my account. And so correct me if I'm wrong. So Kaia came from two blockchain ecosystems. Clayton, Finster, go-to for Kakao and Line. So like we mentioned, all the different countries that are heavily invested and also users for it. I think Korea had, for Kakao, there was like 95% market share or something. 98, right. Okay, much higher than I thought. And so what are some of the other behaviors or user behaviors that you observe in the uptake of P2E, especially when you integrate Web3 gaming into like what you say, a mobile application, a social messaging app?
We are coming to a trend where it's becoming mainstream. For example, we just came back from Korea Blockchain Week last week.
I missed it.
You missed it, yeah. And there was a surprising number of retail users actually going to our booths and our events. And people actually have knowledge of what Bitcoin is, what Ethereum is. But in Korea, especially what Kaia is, because we're like the top chain there. But now there's a certain maturity, and I think if you mix that together with Asians, or rather how we tend to, Asians generally like to play with alternative coins, altcoins. So I don't know. Yeah, so in the Philippines it's the same. In Thailand it's the same. I think in Korea it's the same as well, where they don't really fancy like Bitcoin, Ethereum as much. But
I think it's because we don't have our own ETFs.
Yeah. Oh, that could be it. Yeah. So I think I think it's a ripe opportunity where there's good education and maturity level in the space, and then there's good interest in DeFi and altcoins and play to earn. And now soon we'll have consumer-facing apps like ours, like Line and Kakao Talk, now can have access to blockchain. All of this, I think, can coalesce into a tangible adoption, not just a narrative like, like onboard the millions, but we literally can publish to millions right now.
And so another arena that's very coming up strong in Web3 is actually SocialFi, or social media incorporated with financial incentives. So it's kind of similar to play to earn. It's just P2E is gaming, SocialFi it's social media and finance, right? I know you are a go-to for community building and growth. Checked out your profile, like your esports, NFT gaming, Web3. Like, do you have anything to share when it comes to SocialFi and the narratives? Maybe you could share what are the commonalities and the differences between Web2 and Web3 social circles.
Yeah, for sure. I think there have been some attempts from social media companies on messengers to breach into Web3. Like in Singapore, for example, I think last year, there was this craze of Bondi. Was it last year or the year before?
Oh, right.
You remember?
Yes.
Right? And that was actually on chain. There were millions of downloads and hundreds of thousands of users daily. Last year, there was Friendtech.
I mean, there's Friendtech version 2 now.
There's Friendtech version 2. But they recently announced a few days ago that they're shutting down. It's going down. So other people are calling it a rug. So I think there have been a fair share of graveyards of social media and SocialFi on chain. Like China has Dbox, for example. Vietnam has Chat3. But none of this really translate into real users. And I think the reason for that is because there's a really huge leap for people to adopt a new platform where they can get the same functionalities.
Yeah.
And it's hard to, and if you want to go through the Fintech way of introducing Ponzinomics into your messenger, it can get a lot of users. But after a while, when the airdrop comes and the listing comes, everything will come crashing down because your initial base was wrong. So, well, I think there's merit in this. I think it can only, maybe I'm biased as well. I am biased, but it can only really exist with certain apps that people already use. So you don't make them adopt into a new platform. You make them, you infuse technology into what they already have.
So it's hard. It's a bit like, so what you're saying, it's like quite hard or difficult to change user behaviors. So like if I'm using WhatsApp and Telegram, I'll just stick to WhatsApp and Telegram. I won't use anything out of that. And it's,
well, a compromise that companies do is they use account abstraction, which is some tech that we use in Web3 where you can use your email logins to open a wallet or whatever. You can don't have any like complicated crypto onboarding, and you can just use whatever you have. So there's a compromise, but it's still far from jumping into a new platform and changing your habits.
I think one of the successful ways where Web2 messaging platforms have actually achieved some form of traction is actually the integration of AI. Right? So you have like WhatsApp, I'm not sure what it called, like basically it's integrated.
Meta AI.
Yeah, Meta AI, and then
so
you have
pop-ups,
but it's actually quite fun. Like you can just like type on it and like ask him to create a picture of something that's in context with the text. And so I think Web3 has still much more room to grow in that space of onboarding or actually converting a Web2 user into full-fledged Web3 user. Right? He might not need to know cryptography, but being able to use it as my go-to, my daily. So you're talking about SocialFi and maybe the user side and traction is a little bit off. Have there been any other benefits or maybe not at all that you observe when it comes to a decentralized web combining SocialFi?
Well, I think the strongest case would really be on interoperability. So the nature of Web2 companies is they don't talk to each other. Unless if they own a monopoly like Facebook, like WhatsApp and Instagram.
It's called Meta.
So, but they don't necessarily talk to each other. But if there's if there's a base layer that connects different applications on chain, then that's not a solution looking for a problem. It's actually solving something for the users that they don't have to double down on a single app, So I think that's, we haven't had that yet.
Imagine one day where there's no more FANG. There's just one company.
That'll be a bad day.
Not sure about that, But I mean, we're coming to the close of the show. I have one final question for you, which is, in 2 to 3 sentences, could you share what is one thing in the Web3 space that you're super excited about and why?
For me personally, it's transparency.
Yes.
Okay, I hope that's not fluffy at all. But for example, for Kaia, on our website, you can actually see how much we spend. So for example, if we sponsor conferences, you can see how much we spend for it. If we pay certain agencies, you can see how much we spend for it. You will see the collective pay of the foundation employees like me. You know what I mean?
So I can go and search it up.
You can go search it up. You can say like, collectively, 70 employees, this is the amount, on average, this is the pay. And that's almost ridiculous, right? But it's a form of radical transparency that we really hope. Because that's not present in Web2. People hide their data. Sensitive information. But for us, on the contrary, we really want to build trust in this space. I think we're being very upfront with that. So like doxing ourselves, doxing our transactions. When deals are made with certain companies, it's there for the public to see, and we can vote on it as well. And we know who voted for what, and who abstained, and who vetoed it. So it's really transparent.
Yeah.
sometimes to a fault. But
Yeah.
at the very least, we really want to build that trust. And I think in this rugged, space where a lot of people, I mean, Web 2 and Web 3 have their own bad actors.
Yes,
But
definitely.
like Theranos and SBF and all that.
Yeah.
I mean, they're bad actors on both sides.
Yeah.
But at the very least, I think there's more transparency in this decentralized space in Web 3. Yeah.
You shared more than 2 to 3 sentences, but I love what you shared. Yes,
Okay.
definitely. So we're coming to the end of the show. I think we covered some really good ground and content about SocialFi, P2E, Web3. And so Web3 being more than just crypto and digital assets, right? The space is much bigger than that. Crypto and digital assets are actually a subset of Web3.
Correct.
And it's that whole idea of owning your data, owning your financial data and financial assets on a public, trustless blockchain. Maybe something like what Kaia has to offer.
Correct.
Yes.
Less trust in humans, more trust in
In the
you know,
blockchain.
Yeah,
Yes.
in blockchain.
Thank you for your insights, Paulo, and availing yourself to come onto the show today.
Yeah.
And to all the audience out there, thank you for staying with us till the end. So like, as I mentioned, Web3 is anything under the sun when it comes to decentralized web, owning your own data. So if you have any questions concerning that, feel free to shoot them down in the comment section. And until next time, where we decrypt the digital space block by block.